r/ProRevenge parents stole my identity, so I exposed their darkest secret. The first time I got rejected for an apartment, I thought it was a mistake. "I'm sorry," the landlord said, sliding my application back across his desk like it was contaminated. "Your credit score is, well, let's just say we require a minimum of 600. I stared at the paper, confusion washing over me. There has to be some error. I'm 22. I've never even had a credit card. He pulled up his computer screen and turned it toward me. The number 487 glowed in angry red digits. Below it, a list of accounts I'd never seen before, 3 maxed-out credit cards, a personal loan for $15,000, and something called a payday advance that made my stomach drop. All under my name. All under my social security number. The walk back to my dorm felt like swimming through concrete. My hands shook as I pulled up the free credit report website, praying the landlord had somehow pulled the wrong file. But there it was again, a financial disaster spanning 3 years, painting me as someone who couldn't manage money to save their life. Someone who apparently lived at my mother's address. The phone rang 4 times before Mom picked up. "Honey. How's school? Are you eating enough? You sounded tired last week and I've been worried." "Mom." My voice came out steadier than I felt. "We need to talk." "Of course, sweetheart. What's wrong?" I closed my eyes and dove in. Why are there credit cards in my name that I never applied for? Silence stretched between us like a chasm. When she finally spoke, her voice had changed completely, defensive, sharp. "I don't know what you're talking about. Mom, please. I'm looking at my credit report right now. There's $15,000 in debt under my social security number. The addresses all match yours. Well, maybe someone stole your identity. These things happen all the time. You should probably call the credit companies and..." "Mom, stop." Another pause. Then, quietly, "How did you find out?" The admission hit me like a physical blow. Part of me had still been hoping for a reasonable explanation, some cosmic mix-up that would make this all go away. I tried to rent an apartment. My credit score is destroyed. I sank onto my bed, suddenly exhausted. I can't get approved for anything. Do you know what this means for my student loans? For my future? Honey, listen to me. I was going to tell you, I swear. Things have just been so hard since the divorce. The bills, the mortgage. I barely make enough to cover groceries. I just needed something to help me get back on my feet. By stealing from your own daughter. It's not stealing. You're my child. We're family. And I've been making payments, mostly. It's not like I just ran up the bills and forgot about them. I pulled up the credit report again, scanning the payment history. Late fees everywhere. Several accounts in collections. Mom, you've missed more payments than you've made. And you never asked me. You just took my identity and used it. Don't be so dramatic. Identity theft is when strangers do it. I'm your mother, I changed your diapers, I fed you, I raised you all by myself when your father died. Everything I have goes to taking care of you. The least you can do is help me when I'm struggling. The guilt trip was so perfectly executed, so familiar, that for a moment I almost apologized. Almost. Help you. I stood up, anger finally cutting through the shock. Mom, you've ruined my credit. Do you understand that? Of course I understand, she snapped back. I'm not stupid, Sarah. But what was I supposed to do? Let us lose the house. Stop buying groceries. I've sacrificed everything for you, and now you're acting like I committed some terrible crime. You literally did commit a crime, Mom. This is fraud. Don't you dare threaten me with that legal nonsense. I'm your mother. The conversation spiraled from there. Every attempt I made to explain how this affected my future was met with guilt, deflection, or outright denial. She painted herself as the victim, a struggling single mother who'd lost her saintly husband too young and was just trying to survive. By the time I hung up, she'd somehow made me feel selfish for being upset about my own stolen identity. But the damage was real, and it got worse fast. My financial aid application for next semester was flagged for review. Apparently, having significant unreported debt made me look like a fraud risk. The financial aid office scheduled a meeting that felt more like an interrogation. Miss Chen, the advisor said, her reading glasses perched at the end of her nose like a weapon. Your FAFSA shows no assets or significant income, but your credit report tells a very different story. Can you explain these discrepancies? I sat there, 22 years old, trying to explain to a stranger that my own mother had been systematically destroying my financial future for years. The words felt surreal leaving my mouth. I see. Her expression softened slightly. You'll need to file a police report and provide documentation that you're a victim of identity theft. Until then, your aid is suspended pending investigation. Suspended. The word echoed in my head as I walked across campus. Without financial aid, I couldn't afford to stay in school. I was 3 semesters away from graduating with my teaching degree, and now everything hung in the balance. I called Mom that night with one simple request: I need you to come with me to the police station. We can say it was a misunderstanding, that you'll pay everything back. But I need official documentation that this wasn't me. Absolutely not. Mom, please. I'll lose my financial aid. I might have to drop out. You're not filing a police report against me, Sarah. I won't allow it. Then how am I supposed to fix this? You don't need to fix anything. Just give it time. Keep making payments and eventually your score will improve. Payments with what money? I work part-time at the campus bookstore. I make $8 an hour. Maybe it's time you got serious about finding a real job instead of playing around with this teaching fantasy. Her words stung worse than the financial mess. Teaching wasn't a fantasy, it was my calling, my carefully planned future. But she'd said it so dismissively, like my dreams were just expensive hobbies she could no longer afford to indulge. That's when the research began. Late at night, when my roommate was asleep, I dove deep into identity theft recovery. I learned about fraud alerts, dispute letters, and the long, bureaucratic process of reclaiming a stolen financial identity. Most sources recommended the same thing, file a police report against the perpetrator. But how do you file a police report against your only family? Mom had raised me alone since Dad died when I was 8. She'd worked double shifts, attended every school play, taught me to drive in the church parking lot. She'd also apparently been stealing from me for years, but the guilt felt heavier than the anger. Until I found the other accounts. It started with a credit monitoring alert on my phone at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. Asterisk new account opened, Capital One Platinum card. Credit limit, $5,000, asterisk. I sat up in bed, my roommate's gentle snoring suddenly feeling like thunder in my ears. With trembling fingers, I logged into the credit monitoring app I'd obsessively downloaded after discovering the first batch of fraudulent accounts. There it was. Opened yesterday. Same social security number. Same address, Mom's house. She was still doing it. Even after our confrontations, even after I begged her to stop, even knowing it was destroying my future, she was still opening accounts in my name. I called her immediately, not caring about the time. Sarah. What's wrong? Is someone hurt? You opened another credit card. My voice was flat, emotionless. A pause. Honey, I don't know what. Yesterday. Capital One. $5,000 limit. Want to tell me what emergency justified stealing from me again? The silence stretched so long I thought she'd hung up. When she finally spoke, all pretense was gone. The transmission died on my car. I needed to get to work. What was I supposed to do? Buy a used car. Get a loan in your own name. Ask me for help. Literally anything except continuing to commit fraud. My credit is shot, Sarah. You know that. And I couldn't ask you for $5,000, you're just a college student. So instead you just took it. Borrowed it. I'm going to pay it back. I laughed, and it sounded bitter even to my ears. Like you've been paying back the other $15,000. That's different. I hit a rough patch, but things are turning around. My hours got increased at work, and... Mom, stop. Just stop lying to me. That's when her tone shifted, becoming the voice I remembered from childhood arguments, cold and cutting. You want to know what's really unfair, Sarah? I've spent the last 14 years sacrificing everything for you. I could have remarried, could have focused on my own career, but instead I put you first in everything. And now you're treating me like some kind of criminal instead of being grateful for everything I've done. I am grateful. But that doesn't give you the right to. I gave up dating, do you know that? Completely. After your father died, I could have found someone new, started over. But I didn't want to bring strange men around you. I wanted to honor your father's memory and focus on raising his daughter right. Something in her voice when she said, his daughter, made my stomach clench, but I pushed the feeling aside. That was your choice, Mom. I never asked you to. You never asked for anything because I made sure you didn't have to. Private school when we could barely afford rent. Dance classes. Summer camps. That fancy laptop for college. Do you think that all just magically appeared? So this is payback. For raising me. This is family helping family. When you're older, when you have a real career and a good income, none of this will matter. You'll pay off these little debts and forget all about them. But right now, I need help, and you're the only family I have. The manipulation was so smooth, so practiced, that I could feel myself wavering despite everything. This was the woman who'd held me when I cried about kids teasing me at school, who'd saved for months to buy me the prom dress I wanted, who'd cried harder than I did when I got my acceptance letter to college. But she was also the woman who'd been systematically destroying my financial future for years and had just proven she wouldn't stop. I'm going to the police, Mom. No, you're not. Her certainty made me pause. What? You won't file a report against me, Sarah. Because despite all this drama, you know what really matters. Family. And I'm the only family you have left. The threat hung in the air between us like a blade. Not the words themselves, but the casual confidence behind them. She knew I wouldn't destroy the only family relationship I had left, and she was using that knowledge like a weapon. You're wrong, I said, but my voice lacked conviction. Am I? Go ahead then. Call the police on your own mother. Tell them how the woman who raised you alone, who worked herself to the bone to give you opportunities, committed the terrible crime of borrowing some money when she was desperate. I hung up, but her words echoed in my head for hours. The next morning brought another cruel reminder of my situation. An email from my dream graduate program, the master's degree that would let me teach high school English, sat in my inbox like a ticking bomb. Asterisk dear MS. Chen, asterisk. Asterisk we regret to inform you that due to irregularities discovered during your background check, we must withdraw our preliminary acceptance offer. The financial discrepancies flagged in your credit report raise concerns about your character and judgment that make you unsuitable for our education program, asterisk. We encourage you to reapply once these issues have been resolved and sufficient time has passed to demonstrate rehabilitation. Rehabilitation. Like I was a criminal who needed to prove I'd changed. I stared at my laptop screen until the words blurred. 3 years of maintaining a 3.8 GPA. Volunteer tutoring. Glowing recommendation letters. All worthless because of debts I'd never agreed to take on. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom, asterisk thinking about you, sweetheart. I know you're upset, but this will all work out. Love you, asterisk. The casual normalcy of it made me want to scream. That's when I started digging deeper, not into credit reports this time, but into Mom herself. If she was going to hold our relationship hostage, I needed to understand exactly who I was dealing with. I began with her social media, looking for clues about her financial situation. What I found made my blood boil. Photos from last month showed her at an expensive restaurant downtown, celebrating her friend Janet's birthday. The week before that, she'd posted about a weekend shopping trip, bags from stores I couldn't afford even with employee discounts. But it was the comment thread on a photo from 2 months ago that made me screenshot everything. Asterisk Janet Morrison, girl, you deserve this. Treat yourself. Asterisk. Asterisk Mom, I know I should feel guilty about the splurge, but life's too short. Besides, my credit's finally good enough for the nice stores again. Winking face asterisk. Asterisk Rebecca Walsh, good for you. After everything you've been through, you've earned some happiness. Asterisk. Asterisk mom, exactly. I'm tired of denying myself just because Sarah thinks I should live like a monk. She'll understand when she's older. Asterisk. I read it 3 times, each pass making me angrier. She was bragging about her improved credit that was good because she'd been using mine instead. And she'd mentioned me by name, painting me as some unreasonable child who wanted to control her spending. But the real revelation came when I started looking through older posts, going back years. I was searching for any mention of the financial struggles she claimed justified the identity theft, but instead I found something else entirely. A conversation from 3 years ago, right around the time the first fraudulent account had been opened. Asterisk mom, sometimes I wonder what David would think of the choices I've made. Not just the financial stuff, but everything. The secrets I've kept. Asterisk. Asterisk Janet Morrison, don't do this to yourself again. David never needed to know everything, and neither does anyone else. Some truths are meant to stay buried. Asterisk. Asterisk mom, I know you're right. It's just hard sometimes, especially when I look at Sarah. She has his eyes, but everything else, well, you know. Asterisk. Asterisk Rebecca Walsh, honey, David was her father in every way that mattered. DNA doesn't change that. Asterisk. I stared at the screen, my heart hammering against my ribs. DNA doesn't change that. The words seemed to rearrange themselves as I read them again. David was my father in every way that mattered, except biologically. My hands shook as I scrolled further back, looking for more clues. The pieces started falling into place with horrible clarity. Mom's insistence on honoring your father's memory. The way she sometimes looked at me strangely when I smiled or laughed. Her absolute certainty that I would never file a police report because family is what matters. But I wasn't family, was I? Not the way she'd led everyone to believe. I wasn't David Chen's biological daughter. And somehow, that secret felt bigger than credit cards or student loans or even my ruined future. This was something that could destroy more than just my mother's credit, it could destroy her entire carefully constructed life. The next few days passed in a haze of obsessive research. I should have been studying for finals, but instead I found myself diving deeper into Mom's digital footprints, looking for more evidence of a secret that was now burning a hole in my chest. I started with her old photo albums on Facebook, the ones she'd uploaded when she first joined social media. There were pictures of her and Dad from their early marriage, both of them young and happy. But as I scrolled through chronologically, I noticed something strange. There was a gap. 6 months of missing photos, right around the time I would have been conceived. Before the gap, Mom looked radiant, posting constantly about date nights and weekend trips with Dad. After the gap, the photos resumed, but something had changed. Dad's smiles looked forced. Mom's posts became less frequent and more focused on mundane daily activities. Then, buried in an album labeled Random Memories, I found it. A photo from what looked like a work Christmas party. Mom was wearing a red dress I'd never seen before, laughing at something off camera. Her hand was resting on the arm of a man who definitely wasn't my father. The man was tall, dark-haired, with the same slightly crooked smile I saw in the mirror every morning. The photo was tagged, asterisk, great party. Thanks for making it special, Marcus Red Heart, asterisk. My stomach dropped. I zoomed in on the date stamp, December 15th, exactly 9 months before my birthday. Marcus. I'd never heard Mom mention anyone named Marcus, but here he was, clearly more than just a coworker, in a photo taken during the mysterious 6-month gap in her social media presence. I screenshot the image and started searching her friend list for anyone named Marcus. Nothing. But when I expanded the search to her older posts, I found a few comments from someone with the username MarcusJ_contractor from years ago, casual responses to her posts that had the comfortable familiarity of people who knew each other well. The profile was mostly private, but his profile picture showed the same man from the Christmas party photo, just older. His bio listed him as owner of Jensen Construction, right here in town. Jensen Construction. I knew that name, they'd done work on our church 2 years ago. Mom had been on the building committee that oversaw the project. The realization hit me like ice water. Mom still saw this man. Marcus wasn't some distant mistake from her past, he was part of our community, working jobs around town, probably crossing paths with her regularly. How many times had I seen him without knowing who he was? How many times had he seen me? I was spiraling down this rabbit hole when my phone rang. Financial aid office. Miss Chen. This is Dorothy from Student Financial Services. I wanted to follow up on your situation. Have you been able to file that police report we discussed? I closed my laptop, forcing myself back to the immediate crisis. I'm still working on it. It's complicated because I understand family situations can be difficult, but I need to be frank with you. We've received additional information that's concerning. It appears more accounts have been opened in your name since our last conversation. Our fraud detection system flagged your profile for review. My heart sank. More accounts. A department store credit card and what appears to be a small personal loan. Miss Chen, this pattern suggests ongoing fraud activity. If you can't provide a police report documenting that you're a victim of identity theft, we have no choice but to assume these debts are legitimately yours. That changes your financial aid eligibility significantly. How significantly? You'd be looking at complete loss of need-based aid. The debt-to-income ratio pushes you out of our qualification range entirely. I sank into my desk chair. How long do I have? The review committee meets next Monday. If you can provide documentation by Friday, we can present your case as a fraud victim. Otherwise, she didn't need to finish. Otherwise, my college career was over. After hanging up, I sat staring at my laptop for a long time. On the screen, Marcus's face looked back at me from his profile picture, the face that shared my crooked smile and probably half my DNA. 2 secrets now. Mom's financial fraud and her decades-old affair that produced me. Both devastating in different ways. Both giving me power I'd never asked for. I picked up my phone and opened Mom's contact, my finger hovering over the call button. Part of me wanted to confront her about Marcus, demand the truth about my parentage. But another part recognized the tactical advantage I now held. She was so confident I'd never file a police report because family was all that mattered. Because I needed her. But what if I wasn't really her family? What if David Chen wasn't my father, and this whole guilt trip about honoring his memory was built on a lie? What if I had more leverage than she realized? Instead of calling, I opened my laptop and started drafting an email to the financial aid office. Just a draft, nothing sent yet. A request for a 1-week extension on the documentation deadline. I needed time to think. Time to plan. Time to figure out exactly how much my mother's secrets were worth, and whether they were worth more than my future. I spent the weekend in a strange state of paralysis, oscillating between rage and guilt every few hours. The extension email sat in my drafts folder, unsent. Marcus's face stared back at me from screenshots I'd taken of his social media profile. Mom's latest credit card statement, yes, I'd gained access to those too, showed charges at Target, Olive Garden, and a gas station, all while my future crumbled around debts I'd never agreed to take on. Sunday evening, my roommate Emma found me staring blankly at my laptop screen in our darkened dorm room. Sarah. You've been sitting there for like 3 hours. Are you okay? I looked up at her, this normal college senior worried about normal things like her upcoming presentation and whether Jake from her psychology class would text her back. How do you explain that your entire identity, financial and biological, was apparently a lie? Just family stuff, I said. The credit card thing with your mom. I told Emma the basics, framing it as a misunderstanding that would get sorted out. She didn't know about the police report ultimatum or the suspended financial aid. She definitely didn't know about Marcus. Yeah. It's getting complicated. Emma sat on her bed, pulling her knees up to her chest. Can I ask you something? And don't take this the wrong way, but why don't you just handle it yourself? Like, dispute the charges with the credit card companies? It doesn't work that way when it's family. They want police reports, documentation that you're actually a victim. I closed the laptop. Besides, my mom would never forgive me. But she's the one who screwed up your credit, right? Shouldn't she be worried about your forgiveness? Out of the mouths of 21-year-olds. Emma's casual logic cut straight through weeks of guilt and manipulation. My mother should be worried about my forgiveness. Instead, she was opening new accounts and posting about shopping trips on Facebook. That night, I dreamed about Dad, the man I'd always called Dad, anyway. He was teaching me to ride a bike in our old driveway, his patient voice encouraging me as I wobbled and overcorrected. You've got this, Sarah Bear. Just trust yourself. I woke up wondering if David Chen had known the truth about my parentage, or if he'd been as deceived as I'd been my entire life. Monday brought a new crisis that made the decision for me. I was walking out of my Victorian literature class when my phone rang. Unknown number, but something made me answer. Is this Sarah Chen? Yes. This is Detective Rodriguez with the University Police Department. We need you to come in for questioning regarding fraudulent financial aid applications. My blood turned to ice. I'm sorry, what? Miss Chen, we've received reports that you may have submitted false information on federal financial aid documents. This is a serious matter that could result in criminal charges. Can you come in this afternoon? The campus seemed to tilt around me. There's been a mistake. I'm the victim here. Someone stole my identity. We can discuss the details when you come in. Are you available at 2 p.m.? I agreed because what choice did I have, then immediately called the financial aid office. Dorothy's assistant informed me that yes, they had contacted university police after discovering additional irregularities in my file. No, Dorothy wasn't available to speak with me until after I'd met with the detective. I was now officially under investigation for financial aid fraud committed with my own stolen identity. The irony would have been funny if it wasn't destroying my life. I called Mom from the library parking lot, my hands shaking as I dialed. Sarah. I was just thinking about you. How are classes going? Mom, the university police want to question me about financial aid fraud. Silence. Mom. That's probably just routine. You know how bureaucratic these places can be. It's not routine. They think I lied on my FAFSA because there are all these debts in my name that I can't explain without filing a police report against you. Honey, calm down. You're being dramatic again. I'm being investigated for crimes you committed. Now you listen to me, her voice turned sharp. You will not throw me under the bus to save yourself from a little bureaucratic hassle. We're family, Sarah. That means something, even if you've forgotten. But as she spoke, all I could think about was Marcus Jensen's face, my face, smiling back at me from those old photos. Family. What did that word even mean anymore? I have to go, Mom. The police are waiting. Sarah, don't do anything stupid. Remember who raised you, who sacrificed everything for you. Remember what your father would have wanted. Your father. Not our David or Dad. Your father. Even her guilt trips were lies. The police interview was worse than I'd imagined. Detective Rodriguez was a tired-looking woman in her 40s who treated me like I was already guilty. She spread my financial aid documents across the metal table between us like evidence at a murder trial. Miss Chen, according to your FAFSA, your household income is $31,000 annually and you have no significant assets or debts. But your credit report tells a very different story. She tapped a printout with her pen. $15,000 in credit card debt, multiple loans, a pattern of missed payments going back 3 years. Can you explain this discrepancy? I took a breath, trying to keep my voice steady. Someone stole my identity and opened those accounts without my permission. Someone. My mother. Detective Rodriguez raised an eyebrow. Your mother stole your identity. And you never reported this? I only discovered it recently when I tried to rent an apartment. I confronted her about it, but you didn't file a police report. She's my only family. I was trying to handle it privately. By continuing to claim benefits you weren't eligible for. The accusation hit like a slap. I didn't know about the debts when I filed my FAFSA. And once I found out, I tried to get it corrected through the financial aid office. By claiming you were a victim of identity theft. Because I am a victim. Without filing a police report to document this alleged crime. Alleged. Every word she chose was designed to make me sound like a liar. The interview continued for another hour, covering the same ground repeatedly. By the end, I felt like a criminal for being victimized by my own mother. Detective Rodriguez informed me that the case would be forwarded to the district attorney's office for review of potential federal charges. Miss Chen, financial aid fraud is a serious felony. If convicted, you could face up to 5 years in prison and substantial fines. I strongly advise you to consult with an attorney. 5 years in prison. For crimes I didn't commit, using debts I never agreed to take on. I walked out of the police station feeling completely hollow. My phone had 3 missed calls from Mom, but I couldn't bring myself to listen to the voicemails. Instead, I drove to the one place that had always brought me peace, the cemetery where David Chen was buried. I sat cross-legged on the grass beside his headstone, studying the inscription I'd read hundreds of times. Beloved husband and father. But was he really my father? And if not, did he know? I don't know what to do, Dad, I whispered to the granite marker. Mom's destroying my life, but she's all I have left. Except maybe she's not really. The words hung in the air. For the first time, I said it out loud, maybe you're not my real father. It felt like blasphemy. This man had raised me, loved me, attended every school play and soccer game until cancer took him when I was 8. DNA didn't change that, like Rebecca had commented on Facebook. But it might change everything else. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom, Sarah, please call me. We need to talk before you do something we'll both regret, Something we'll both regret. Not something I'd regret, something we both would. Like she had secrets to protect too. I stood up, brushing grass off my jeans, and made a decision. Before I chose between protecting my mother and saving myself, I needed the whole truth. About the debts, about Marcus Jensen, about everything she'd been hiding behind her mask of martyred single motherhood. It was time to do some real detective work of my own. And I knew exactly where to start. I drove straight from the cemetery to Jensen Construction. The office was in a converted house on the outskirts of downtown, with work trucks scattered across the gravel lot. Through the front window, I could see a receptionist typing at an old computer. My heart hammered as I pushed through the glass door, a bell chiming my arrival. Can I help you? The woman looked up with a practiced smile. I'm looking for Marcus Jensen. Is he in? He's on a job site, but he should be back around 4. Can I take a message? I glanced at my phone. 3:20 p.m. I'll wait, if that's okay. She gestured to a small seating area with mismatched chairs and outdated magazines. I picked up a copy of Better Homes and Gardens from 2019 and pretended to read while my mind raced through what I'd actually say to him. Hi, I think you're my biological father because you had an affair with my mother 22 years ago, and now she's committing identity theft that might land me in federal prison. Yeah, that would go well. At 4:15, the door opened and he walked in. Marcus Jensen, in person, was even more unsettling than his photos. Same height as me, same dark hair, same crooked smile he flashed at the receptionist. But it was his hands that made my breath catch, long fingers with the same weird double-jointed thumbs I'd always thought I inherited from some distant Chen relative. Any messages, Linda? This young lady has been waiting to see you. Linda nodded toward me. Marcus turned, and his expression shifted when he saw my face. Not surprise exactly, but recognition. Like he'd been expecting this moment for years. Sarah. My name wasn't a question. You know who I am. Yeah. He glanced at Linda, then back at me. We should probably talk in my office. His office was cluttered with blueprints and coffee-stained invoices. Marcus closed the door and leaned against it, studying me with an expression I couldn't read. How much do you know? He asked finally. Enough. I sat down without being invited. I know about the Christmas party. I know about the timing. And I know my mother's been lying to me my entire life. He was quiet for a long moment, then moved to sit behind his desk. Your mother never wanted you to find out. She thought it would be better. Better for who? Her. You. Because it sure as hell hasn't been better for me. Sarah, it's complicated. Everyone keeps saying that. I leaned forward. My mother has been destroying my credit for 3 years. Opening accounts in my name, ruining my future, and when I try to stop her, she guilt-trips me about family loyalty and honoring my father's memory. Except he wasn't really my father, was he? Marcus flinched. David was your father in every way that mattered. Did he know? The question hung between us like a blade. Marcus rubbed his face with those familiar hands. We were never sure. The timing, it could have been either of us. Your mother and David were having problems, had been for months. She and I, we were working on the same project, spending a lot of time together. It just happened. It just happened. I laughed bitterly. And then what? You both decided to pretend it never did. Your mother chose to stay with David. To work on their marriage. I respected that choice. But you suspected I might be yours. Yeah. His voice was quiet. Yeah, I suspected. Especially as you got older. You look. Like you. Like my side of the family. But Sarah, your mother made it clear she didn't want me involved. She said it would destroy too many lives. I thought about Mom's carefully constructed image in our church community. The devoted widow who'd never even dated after losing her saintly husband. The struggling single mother who deserved everyone's sympathy and support. She's been using that story my whole life, I said. Playing the martyred widow. Do you know she tells people she never even considered remarrying because she wanted to honor David's memory? Marcus's jaw tightened. I know what she tells people. And you just let her. What was I supposed to do? Demand a paternity test. Blow up her life and yours. She made her choice, Sarah. Well, now she's made another choice. She's committing fraud using my identity, and when I try to stop her, she's holding our relationship hostage. Except maybe we don't have a relationship. Maybe I have two parents who've been lying to me instead of one. Something shifted in Marcus's expression. What do you mean, fraud? I told him everything. The credit cards, the loans, the suspended financial aid, the police investigation. With each detail, his face grew darker. She's destroying your future to fund her spending. And guilt-tripping me about family loyalty while she does it. Marcus stood up abruptly, pacing to the window. That's not the woman I thought I knew. Maybe you didn't know her at all. He turned back to me. What are you going to do? It was the question I'd been avoiding for weeks. But sitting here, looking at this man who might be my biological father, who'd been kept away by my mother's lies just like everyone else had been manipulated by her carefully crafted victim narrative, I finally knew the answer. I'm going to stop letting her control the story. After leaving Marcus's office, I sat in my car for 20 minutes, hands shaking as I processed everything. He'd given me his phone number and told me to call if I needed anything at all. But what I needed was something no one else could give me, the courage to stop being my mother's victim. The drive home felt surreal. Every familiar landmark looked different somehow, like I was seeing my entire life through new eyes. By the time I pulled into the dorm parking lot, I'd made a decision that terrified and liberated me in equal measure. I was going to take control of the narrative. But first, I needed evidence. Real evidence, not just screenshots and suspicions. Back in my room, I opened my laptop and started researching in earnest. Not just Mom's social media this time, but public records, property filings, anything that might reveal the scope of her deception. What I found made my stomach turn. She'd refinanced the house 6 months ago. The mortgage documents, available through the county records office, showed she'd pulled out $30,000 in equity. The application listed her income as significantly higher than what I knew she actually made, income inflated by the minimum payments she'd been making on my fraudulent accounts to boost her debt-to-income ratio. She'd used my stolen identity to qualify for a better refinance rate. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the personal reference section, where she'd listed character witnesses who could vouch for her financial responsibility. Janet Morrison was there, along with Rebecca Walsh and Pastor Williams from our church. Our church, where she served on the finance committee. Where she'd been handling other people's money while systematically stealing from her own daughter. My phone rang, jolting me from the documents. Mom's contact photo smiled up at me, and for once, I answered immediately. Sarah, thank goodness. I've been worried sick. How did the meeting with the police go? Her concerned mother act felt different now. I could hear the calculation behind it, the careful probing for information. It went fine, Mom. Just routine questions. I told you it was nothing to worry about. These bureaucratic mix-ups happen all the time. Speaking of mix-ups, I said, pulling up the refinance documents, I was curious about something. When did you refinance the house? Silence. Then, why would you ask about that? I'm just trying to understand our financial situation better. You know, since my credit is apparently connected to yours now. Sarah, that's not really your concern. The house is my responsibility. But you used my credit history to qualify for better rates, didn't you? The silence stretched longer this time. When she finally spoke, her voice had changed. I don't know what you think you've discovered, but I've discovered that this goes way beyond a few credit cards, Mom. You've been systematically using my identity for months. Maybe years. You don't understand the pressure I've been under. Then explain it to me. Explain how using my social security number to refinance your house was supposed to help either of us. Everything I've done has been to keep our family stable. The house, your college fund, making sure we don't lose everything your father worked for. What college fund? The words came out sharper than I intended. Mom, I'm on financial aid. I work part-time at $8 an hour. What college fund are you talking about? Another pause. Well, I had to use some of that money for emergency expenses, but you spent my college fund. I borrowed from it temporarily. Once I get back on my feet. How much? Sarah, this isn't. How much was in my college fund, Mom? About $15,000, but like I said. The number hit me like a physical blow. $15,000. The exact amount of fraudulent debt showing up on my credit report. You spent my college fund, then opened credit cards in my name to replace it, didn't you? It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. My voice was rising, and Emma looked over from her desk with concern. You stole my college fund, then stole my identity to cover it up, and now you're letting me face federal charges rather than admit what you did. I am not letting you face charges. This will all blow over. No, Mom. It won't blow over. Do you want to know why? Because I'm done protecting you. The words hung in the air between us, and I could hear her breathing change. What does that mean? It means I'm filing the police report tomorrow. It means I'm going to tell them everything, the credit cards, the refinance, the college fund, all of it. You wouldn't dare. But her certainty was cracking, and we both knew it. Try me. Sarah, listen to me very carefully. Mom's voice had gone cold, all pretense of maternal concern stripped away. If you file that police report, you'll destroy more than just my life. What's that supposed to mean? It means there are things you don't know. Things that would hurt a lot of people if they came to light. I almost laughed. You mean like the fact that David Chin probably wasn't my biological father? Yeah, Mom, I already figured that one out. The sharp intake of breath on her end told me I'd hit my mark. How did you? Does it matter? The point is, your secrets don't scare me anymore. Sarah, you don't understand what you're playing with. If this comes out, it won't just affect me. Think about your father's memory. Think about how this would look to Pastor Williams, to everyone at church who supported us all these years. There it was, the same manipulation she'd always used, just cranked up to maximum volume. But now I could see the calculation behind it, the way she weaponized other people's feelings to get what she wanted. So let me get this straight, I said, my voice eerily calm. You're threatening to let me go to prison for federal fraud charges because you're worried about church gossip. I'm not threatening anything. I'm trying to protect our family's reputation. Our family. The words tasted bitter. Mom, you've been lying about our family for 22 years. You've stolen from me for 3 years. At what point do we stop pretending this is about protecting anyone but yourself? Emma was openly staring now, her homework forgotten. I caught her eye and mouthed sorry before turning back to the phone. You know what I think? I continued. I think you're not worried about Dad's memory or the church community. I think you're worried about losing your victim status. Because that's what this has always been about, hasn't it? Poor Sandra Chen, the grieving widow who sacrifices everything for her daughter. That's not. How much money have people given you over the years, Mom? Church collections when you couldn't make rent. Grocery gift cards. Free babysitting. How much of it was based on lies? The silence stretched so long I thought she'd hung up. I did the best I could, she finally whispered. No, you did what was easiest for you. And now you're asking me to go to prison to keep your lies intact. I never asked you to go to prison. I'm trying to find a solution that doesn't destroy everything. Everything for who? I was shouting now, and I didn't care. Because it's already destroyed for me, Mom. My credit is ruined. My financial aid is suspended. I'm facing federal charges. My graduate program rejected me. My future is gone because you couldn't stop spending money you didn't have. I can fix this. How? How exactly are you going to fix 3 years of systematic fraud without admitting what you did? I'll find a way to pay back the money. I'll take out a personal loan. With what credit? And that doesn't solve the federal investigation. I could hear her crying now, but it didn't move me the way it once would have. I'd seen behind the curtain too many times. Sarah, please. I'm begging you. Give me 2 weeks to figure something out. Don't file that report yet. 2 weeks to do what? Open more accounts in my name. I promise I won't touch your credit again. I swear on your father's grave. The casual invocation of David Chen's memory, a man who might not even be my biological father, finally pushed me over the edge. Don't you dare, I said, my voice deadly quiet. Don't you dare use his name to manipulate me one more time. You've been trading on that man's memory for 14 years, and I'm done letting you get away with it. What does that mean? But I was already formulating a plan that would change everything. It means your 2 weeks are up, Mom. Tonight. I hung up and immediately called the campus crisis counselor, my hands trembling as I dialed. Not because I was falling apart, but because I needed to document everything before I took the nuclear option. This is Dr. Martinez. Hi, this is Sarah Chen. I need to report ongoing identity theft by a family member, and I think I need legal advice about federal fraud charges. Within an hour, I was sitting in Dr. Martinez's office with a legal aid attorney named James Park, laying out the entire mess. James took notes while I explained about the credit cards, the police investigation, and Mom's refusal to cooperate. The good news is you have a clear case for identity theft, James said, flipping through his legal pad. The bad news is the delay in reporting has complicated things. Federal prosecutors don't like it when victims wait months to come forward. My mother convinced me it was a family matter. That's unfortunately common in these cases. Family members often use emotional manipulation to prevent victims from seeking help. He looked up at me. But Sarah, you need to understand what filing this report means. Your mother will likely face criminal charges. Given the amounts involved and the systematic nature of the fraud, we're talking potential felony charges. My stomach clenched. How serious? Identity theft, wire fraud, possibly bank fraud depending on the refinance situation. She could be looking at several years in prison. Several years in prison. For my mother, who'd never even gotten a speeding ticket. There's something else, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I found out she's been lying about other things too. Big things that could affect our entire community. Dr. Martinez leaned forward. What kind of things? I told them about Marcus, about the affair, about the decades of lies that had shaped not just my life but the lives of everyone who'd supported the grieving widow and her fatherless daughter. James whistled low. That's additional motivation for her to fight this, he said. If criminal charges become public record, the whole story might come out during trial. She has every reason to try to discredit you or find ways to make this go away quietly. What do you mean, discredit me? Counter-accusations. Claims that you authorized the accounts. Maybe she'll say you were in financial trouble and asked her to help, then changed your mind. Without documentation from the beginning, it becomes a he said she said situation. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom, Sarah, I've been thinking about what you said. You're right that I've made mistakes. Can we meet tomorrow to figure out a solution together? I love you, I showed the message to James, who frowned. That's exactly what I was worried about. She's going to try to negotiate, make promises, anything to keep you from filing that report. But what if she actually follows through? What if she really can fix this? Dr. Martinez spoke up. Sarah, from what you've described, your mother has had multiple opportunities to stop this behavior. She knew about the police investigation, knew your financial aid was suspended, and she opened another credit card anyway. The question is, James added, how much more of your life are you willing to sacrifice waiting for her to change? I stared at my phone, reading Mom's message again. The same promises she'd been making for months, wrapped in declarations of love that felt more like threats. She said something on the phone about destroying things if this comes out. About hurting other people. James's expression darkened. That sounds like she might be threatening to expose other people's secrets if you move forward. Do you know what she might be referring to? I shook my head, but a chill ran down my spine. Mom sat on the church finance committee. She'd been the treasurer of my elementary school PTA. She'd worked part-time at a nonprofit handling donor records. How many people's private information had she had access to over the years? We need to move quickly, James said. The longer we wait, the more time she has to either destroy evidence or create complications. My phone buzzed again. Another message, asterisk I know you're angry, but please remember that some actions can't be undone. Think carefully about what matters most, asterisk. The threat was barely veiled now. She's scared, I said, showing them the new message. Good, James replied. Scared people make mistakes. But they also get desperate. That night, I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Mom's face from family photos, the loving mother who'd braided my hair for school pictures, who'd stayed up all night when I had pneumonia in 3rd grade, who'd cried with pride at my high school graduation. But those memories felt tainted now, overshadowed by the woman who'd been systematically destroying my future while playing the victim. At 6 a.m., my phone started ringing. Mom's contact photo lit up the screen, but I let it go to voicemail. Then it rang again. And again. By the 4th call, Emma sat up in her bed, squinting at me in the dim light filtering through our blinds. Sarah, just answer it or turn it off. Some of us have morning classes. I grabbed the phone and stepped into the hallway, answering on the 8th ring. Sarah, thank God. I've been up all night thinking, and I have a solution. Mom's voice was breathless, manic. I could picture her pacing around the kitchen, coffee mug in hand, that forced energy she got when she was trying to control a situation that was spiraling away from her. I'm listening. I talked to Janet, you remember Janet Morrison, she works at the credit union, and she thinks we can consolidate everything into one manageable payment plan. If we transfer all the balances to a single account. Mom, stop. And I can pick up extra shifts at work, maybe even take on some weekend cleaning jobs. Mom. We could have this completely paid off in maybe 18 months, 2 years at most. You wouldn't have to file any police reports or deal with lawyers or... Stop talking. My voice echoed in the empty hallway. Just stop. She fell silent, but I could hear her ragged breathing. You called Janet about this? She's family, Sarah. She wants to help us figure this out. Family. I laughed, and it sounded hollow even to me. Janet knows, doesn't she? About the credit cards, about what you've been doing. I might have mentioned that we were having some financial complications. You told her you've been stealing my identity. I didn't use those words. But she knows. The implications were crashing over me like waves. Who else knows, Mom? Rebecca? Pastor Williams? How many people have you involved in covering this up? It's not covering up, it's finding solutions. It's witness tampering. The legal term came back to me from my conversation with James yesterday. You're building a network of people who'll vouch for your version of events. That's not. Sarah, you're being paranoid. But I could hear the calculation in her voice, the same tone she used when she was working out how to spin a story to her advantage. How many conversations had she had over the past few weeks? How many people in our small community now had Janet's version of our financial complications? I'm filing the police report today, Mom. Sarah, wait. There's something else we need to discuss first. Something about your father. David or Marcus? The sharp intake of breath told me I'd surprised her, but she recovered quickly. Both. There are things you don't understand about that situation. Things that could hurt Marcus's family if they came to light. My blood went cold. Marcus has a family. A wife. 2 teenagers. They don't know about you. The hallway seemed to tilt around me. Of course he had a family. Of course there were more innocent people who could be destroyed by the truth. You're threatening them now too. I'm not threatening anyone. I'm trying to protect everyone involved, including you. Do you really want to be responsible for destroying a marriage? For traumatizing 2 kids who don't even know you exist? The manipulation was so smooth, so practiced, that for a moment I felt the familiar guilt creeping in. But then I remembered Marcus's face yesterday, the recognition in his eyes when he saw me. The way he'd given me his phone number and told me to call if I needed anything. He'd seemed like a decent man trapped in an impossible situation. But Mom was right about one thing, there would be collateral damage. That's not my responsibility, I said, but my voice lacked conviction. Isn't it? You're the one choosing to make this public. You're the one who could keep this private and spare innocent people. My phone buzzed with an incoming call. James Park, the legal aid attorney. I let it go to voicemail. I have to go, Mom. Sarah, please. Just give me today to work something out. Don't do anything irreversible yet. Everything you've done to me is irreversible. That's not true. Credit can be repaired, financial aid can be reinstated. But once you destroy people's families, once you ruin their reputations in the community, that can never be undone. The line went quiet except for her breathing. One day, she said finally. Give me one day to find a solution that doesn't hurt everyone else. If you can't do it for me, do it for Marcus's kids. She hung up before I could respond, leaving me standing in the empty hallway with my phone pressed to my ear and a decision that felt impossible. I spent the morning in a coffee shop off campus, staring at my laptop screen and James Park's business card. His voicemail had been straightforward. Sarah, I prepared the police report documentation. We can file everything this afternoon if you're ready. Call me back. Ready. What did that even mean anymore? My phone buzzed constantly, texts from Mom that I didn't read, missed calls that I sent to voicemail. But at 11 a.m., a number I didn't recognize lit up my screen. Sarah. This is Marcus Jensen. My stomach dropped. Did my mother call you? About an hour ago. His voice was strained. She told me you're planning to file a police report that could expose everything. She had no right to involve you. Maybe not, but we need to talk. There are things you don't know about my situation. I closed my laptop, already knowing this conversation would change everything. What things? My wife has been battling depression for the past 2 years. Severe depression. She's finally in a good place, starting to heal. If she finds out about the affair, about you. Sarah, I'm genuinely afraid of what she might do to herself. The words hit me like ice water. You think she would hurt herself? I think she's fragile in ways I can't even explain. And my kids, they've been through hell watching their mother struggle. They're just starting to feel stable again. I pressed my palm against my forehead, fighting off a headache that was building behind my eyes. So what are you saying? I'm saying your mother was right about one thing: there will be casualties if this comes out. People who don't deserve to be hurt. And what about me? Don't I deserve consideration too? Of course you do. That's why I'm calling. I want to help you find another way. Another way. Just like Mom's promises, just like Janet's consolidation plan, just like every other delay tactic designed to protect everyone except me. Marcus, I'm facing federal fraud charges. My entire future is destroyed. How exactly do you propose to fix that without admitting what my mother did? I could pay off the debts. All of them. Today. The offer hung between us like a lifeline and a trap simultaneously. That's $15,000. I can handle it. Consider it child support I should have been paying all along. The bitter irony wasn't lost on me. 22 years of nothing, then suddenly he wanted to play father when it was convenient for him. And what happens when investigators ask where the money came from? We'll figure out a story. Anonymous benefactor, maybe a church collection. People have been helping your mother financially for years, it wouldn't seem suspicious. Another lie to add to the mountain of lies. Another cover-up to protect everyone except the actual victim. You realize you're asking me to commit fraud to cover up fraud? I'm asking you to consider a solution that doesn't destroy multiple families. My coffee had gone cold, but I took a sip anyway, buying time to think. Through the shop window, I could see students walking to class, living their normal lives, worrying about normal problems like midterm exams and weekend plans. If I agree to this, I said slowly, what guarantee do I have that my mother won't just do it again? That she won't see this as permission to keep using people? You'll have my word that I'll monitor the situation. If she steps out of line again. Your word. I laughed harshly. Marcus, you've been monitoring this situation for 3 years while she destroyed my credit. Your word doesn't mean much to me right now. The silence stretched uncomfortably long. You're right, he said finally. I failed you. I should have stepped in when I first suspected what she was doing. You knew. I suspected. The timing of her improved finances, some things she said at community events. But I told myself it wasn't my business, that I'd given up the right to interfere in your lives. Another adult who'd chosen convenience over protecting me. I was starting to see a pattern. My phone buzzed with a text from James, * paperwork ready when you are. Clock is ticking on federal investigation, *. The reminder sent adrenaline shooting through my system. While everyone else worried about protecting their secrets and reputations, I was running out of time to save my own life. I need to think about this, I told Marcus, but before I could hang up, he said something that stopped me cold. There's one more thing, Sarah. Something your mother doesn't know I know. My stomach clenched. What? She's not just using your identity. I've been doing some checking since yesterday, and there are other names on some of those accounts. Other social security numbers. The coffee shop suddenly felt too hot, too loud. What do you mean? I mean your mother has been running a more sophisticated operation than either of us realized. Some of the addresses trace back to elderly members of your church. People she's had access to through her volunteer work. The implication hit me like a freight train. She's stealing from other people too. I think so. And Sarah, if that's true, this is so much bigger than family drama. We're talking about federal wire fraud, elder abuse, maybe organized financial crimes. The kind of charges that carry serious prison time. I set my coffee down with shaking hands. All this time, I'd been agonizing over whether to report my mother for stealing from me, while she'd apparently been running some kind of identity theft ring using church members as victims. How do you know this? I have a friend who works in banking compliance. I asked him to run some quiet checks on the addresses associated with your social security number. 3 of them belong to people over 75 who attend your church. Mrs. Henderson, who always brought me cookies after Dad died. Mr. Petrov, who taught me chess in the church basement. Sweet old people who trusted my mother with their personal information because she was the grieving widow everyone wanted to help. Jesus Christ. Sarah, if I'm right about this, your mother isn't going to stop with promises and payment plans. She can't stop, because the moment the investigation gets serious, all of this other stuff will come to light. She's in too deep. My phone was buzzing with another call, Mom again. I declined it and immediately got a text, * Sarah, I've found a solution. Meet me at the church at 2 p.m. Pastor Williams wants to help us work this out as a family, *. Pastor Williams. The man who'd baptized me, who delivered Dad's eulogy, who trusted Mom with the church's financial records. Marcus, she just texted me about meeting at the church with Pastor Williams. Don't go. His sharp tone surprised me. Why? Because if she's been stealing from church members, Pastor Williams might already be involved, either as a victim or as someone she's manipulated into helping cover it up. Sarah, you can't trust anyone in your inner circle right now. The paranoia felt overwhelming, but it made a sick kind of sense. Mom had always been strategic about her relationships, cultivating people who could be useful to her. How many favors had she called in over the years? How many people owed her enough to look the other way? I need to see James Park. Now. The lawyer? Good. But Sarah, be careful who you talk to until then. If your mother really is running a larger operation, she's going to be desperate to contain this. After hanging up, I tried to process everything while walking back to campus. My mother wasn't just a struggling single parent who'd made bad choices, she was potentially a career criminal who'd been using our family tragedy as cover for systematic fraud. But as I reached the edge of campus, I noticed a familiar car parked near the student center. Mom's blue Honda, with Janet Morrison sitting in the passenger seat. They were both staring at their phones, and something about their body language made my blood run cold. They weren't there by coincidence. My phone buzzed with a new text, but this time it wasn't from Mom. It was from an unknown number, * your mother asked me to reach out. This is Janet Morrison. We really need to talk before you make any decisions you'll regret. There are things about your family situation that you don't understand, *. I looked up at the Honda again. Janet was typing on her phone, her face grim with concentration. They weren't just trying to manipulate me anymore. They were coordinating. I took a screenshot of Janet's text and immediately called James Park. "They're here," I said without preamble. "My mother and her friend are literally sitting outside campus watching me. This has moved beyond family drama." "Where are you now?" "Student center parking lot." "James, there's more. I think my mother's been stealing from elderly church members too." His sharp intake of breath told me everything I needed to know. "Sarah, get somewhere public and safe. Don't go anywhere alone with your mother or anyone she brings. I'm filing everything with police right now, we can't wait anymore." 20 minutes later, I was sitting in Detective Rodriguez's office with James beside me, laying out everything. The credit cards, the refinancing, Marcus's suspicions about other victims, Mom's increasingly desperate attempts at damage control. "This changes things significantly," Detective Rodriguez said, her earlier hostility replaced by focused attention. "If we're looking at multiple victims, especially elderly targets, federal prosecutors will fast-track this case." My phone had been buzzing non-stop with calls and texts from Mom, Janet, even Pastor Williams. I'd stopped reading them, but James picked up my phone and scrolled through the latest messages. "Listen to this," he said, reading from Pastor Williams's text. "Sarah, your mother is very worried about you. She says you're under stress and making accusations that could hurt innocent people. Please call me so we can discuss this properly." Detective Rodriguez frowned. "He's trying to isolate you from legal representation. That's a red flag." Within 2 hours, everything was in motion. The police had enough evidence to open a formal investigation, and my status changed from suspect to victim. But more importantly, they were taking Marcus's tip about other victims seriously. "We'll need you to stay available for the next few days," Detective Rodriguez said as we wrapped up. "If your mother really has been targeting other church members, we'll need your help understanding the community dynamics." As James and I walked out of the police station, my phone rang one final time. Mom's number. This time, I answered. "Sarah, what have you done?" Her voice was different now, not the manipulative concern from before, but cold panic. "What I should have done months ago. You don't understand what you've started. Janet says there are already investigators asking questions at the church." "Good. Sarah, please. Meet me somewhere neutral. Let me explain." "There's nothing left to explain, Mom. I know about the other victims. I know about the church members whose identities you've stolen." The silence stretched so long I thought she'd hung up. "How much do you know?" she finally whispered. "Enough. I never wanted to hurt anyone. It started with just trying to keep us afloat after your father died, and then it just spiraled." For the first time in months, her voice carried something that sounded like genuine remorse. "But it was too late for apologies. You used Dad's death as cover for 20 years of lies and theft. You used his memory to manipulate me into protecting you. And worst of all, you let me believe I was going crazy, that I was ungrateful and selfish for wanting my own life back. Sarah. I'm done, Mom. Whatever happens next, you brought it on yourself." 6 months later, I was sitting in my new apartment, the real one this time, rented with my restored credit and reinstated financial aid, reading news coverage of Mom's sentencing. 18 months for identity theft and elder fraud, with full restitution to all victims. Marcus had indeed paid off my fraudulent debts, quietly and without strings attached. We'd met for coffee twice, carefully navigating the weird territory of being strangers who shared DNA. His family still didn't know about me, and that was okay. Some truths were worth protecting. I never did get the dramatic confrontation or the satisfying apology I'd imagined. But I got something better, my life back, and the knowledge that I was stronger than I'd ever thought possible. Sometimes the best revenge isn't exposing someone's darkest secrets, it's refusing to let their secrets destroy you.